The methods used by the advocacy group ACORN are under investigation in 10 states across the country. Last month, ACORN workers in Nevada and Pennsylvania were charged with election law and voter registration violations. Congressman Steve King has introduced legislation that would bar ACORN from receiving federal money. That's the topic of our face-off debate tonight. Should ACORN be eligible for federal funding? And joining me now, Congressman Steve King and the CEO and chief organizer of ACORN, Bertha Lewis. Bertha, good to have you with us. Congressman,
thanks for having me, Lou.
Thank you for being with us. Let me start. Congressman King, you said this about ACORN in a statement this week. ACORN and its estimated 270 corporate affiliates comprise a complex organizational and financial spiderweb with all the appearance of a criminal enterprise. That's a pretty serious charge, to say the very least, Congressman. What do you mean?
Well, I intended it to sound serious. It is serious, Lou. And I see another 4 to 5 states that are brought into this from an investigation standpoint. But we have a lot of history with this, with going back to the Community Reinvestment Act, to ACORN itself admitting to over 400,000 fraudulent voter registration forms, coupled with faulty forms as well, taking the position that out of 400,000 there really weren't any fraudulent votes that took place. And additionally, there exists, at least according to the news, a contract that the White House apparently has signed with ACORN that they would be providing the workers for the United States Census. For me, this is all entirely appalling, and we need to do a complete investigation. It should be done by Congress, and it should be done by justice simultaneously.
Bertha Lewis, your response.
Oh, first of all, let me thank you again for having me on so I could set the record straight. We are not under investigation in 10 states. Once again, calling us a criminal organization really is beyond the pale. And no, we don't have a contract to do the census. And so what we should be talking about here is real voter registration being done by the government. We think that the government ought to do its job. We think there ought to be automatic registration so that ACORN or any other group wouldn't have to do it, and make sure that the most precious of activities in this democracy get done right. And again, we didn't turn in and try to commit voter fraud. We turned in every worker that we identified, cooperated with authorities. Once again, every single card we flagged, we tagged, because we have an absolute great program of quality control. So casting stones, calling us names, you know, doesn't move things forward. Let's try to get automatic registration so that ACORN and other groups don't have to do it.
I'm going to respond first to the issue of investigations, if I may, just as a matter of record. The fact is ACORN and its employees are under investigation in 10 states, Bertha Lewis. That's a matter of fact. It's not a matter of opinion. As to everything else you said, your response to that, Congressman?
Well, in addition, when I hear Bertha Lewis say that ACORN doesn't have a contract to do the census, that's just a subtle slip of phrase. What's been reported is ACORN having a contract to provide the workers to do the census. So if you want to draw that distinction, I guess that's fine. But for me, if you put the people out to count the people in the United States of America that will draw the lines for congressional districts and determine where taxpayer dollars go, and it's the same people, most likely, that are producing over 400,000 fraudulent voter registration forms, and that's admitted by ACORN itself. I can't expect any other result at the same kind of thing that we're doing now. And the corruption in our election process, why would anyone have an incentive to spend millions of dollars paying people to produce fraudulent voter registration forms unless the result was to influence elections? And ACORN has all of the appearances of a criminal enterprise and an organization that is get out the vote drive for Democrats, and the face of President Obama is on the entire logo of ACORN itself.
Bertha, please.
Can I just respond?
Please.
Number one, Congressman King, if you have that contract, would you please produce it? Because whether it's for workers or participating, you know, we can play word games all day long. There is no contract. Please produce some contract, because I don't have it. If there's a contract that I'm supposed to be getting paid for, I have no contract. Please produce it.
You
say
have no agreement?
You produce it. You produce the contract.
I'll be happy to do that.
And
I understand
again,
there's already been a Freedom of Information Act
good.
filed that produces that contract.
Produce that contract.
We'll do that.
That would be great, because it'll be news to me. And again, ACORN. Yes, we flagged, we tagged every suspicious card, and we turned in every card, and we identified suspicious workers. We cooperated. We were defrauded, not
Bertha,
the
let's
American
do the audit
public.
then. Let's do the congressional investigation. Let's cooperate with justice. Take these 175 corporations that are affiliated that we have listed in the congressional record, add another 100 or so that we don't have listed in the congressional record, and let's go through this forensically and look at all of the data that's there. And let's go down there to 2609 Canal Street in New Orleans and take a look at everybody that's housed under the same roof and the interlocking board of directors, the same faces doing the same thing under different corporate names. Let's do all of that and tell the American people then. And let's find out who's right with a real investigation instead of just simply diverting the discussion like you've done for the last year or more.
Well, I think that you're diverting the discussion. First, you start out with investigations of voter registration. Then you want to talk about corporations. We should be talking about the real issue. Why don't you and other people in Congress put together legislation that guarantees automatic universal registration? Boom, you solve that problem.
You mean all the trappings of a criminal enterprise would disappear if Congress just funded the work that you're doing?
I did not interrupt you, Congressman. Secondly, let's talk about the work that ACORN does every day. Registering people to vote is maybe 5% of what we do. Let's talk about how we're working with the mayors across the country to do mandatory mediation to save people's homes, and that works in 78% of the cases. Let's talk about
and when you're done, I'm happy to respond to that.
39 years of working in neighborhoods to clean them up, improve them, trying to get good health care for kids, education, real immigration reform, stopping racial profiling, which is why I'm out here in Phoenix. Let's talk about that and work together on that. And you know, we've been exonerated before.
Thank you, Lou.
We'll be exonerated
then let's also talk about the involvement of the President of the United States, who has been an employee of ACORN.
He never was.
Who's headed up Project Vote in Chicago, who made his political reputation there, whose boss bragged about intimidating lenders, who were at the core of ACORN at the beginning of the Community Reinvestment Act, and tied the links together to push Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to accelerate the secondary market on the subprime loan crisis. That's all part of ACORN's involvement too, as well as the
I've got to interject here
form.
as to what we do know, as a matter of fact, and that is we investigated whether or not Barack Obama was a quote employee of ACORN, and our investigation found that he was not. He did represent their interests, but trying to just keep as many facts forward as we possibly can.
No, and I think that's important. Let's have facts. Let's not have rhetoric and hyperbole. Let's talk about things that affect the American public. Let's talk about saving homes. We're going to do a lot of that, but we're out of time right now. And Bertha Lewis, we thank you. Thank you once again.
Congressman Steve King, we thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
Appreciate it. And please join us for